All right, hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment. I'm going to pause for just, if you haven't seen these videos, welcome and welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. Just moving some things around, getting comfortable. Happy Solstice Gateway. I woke up this morning and so my intention with this video is to go into a little flow, go into a little energy update, talk a little bit about grid work, which I haven't really done before because it's answering a question that I've had a few people ask me. And my dear friend and fellow sister Jess from Yothera and I had discussed a while ago talking about grid work. And I never really have done a video or discussed my version of what that means for me. So I'll talk about that a little bit. First, I want to start off by saying that we're in this gateway of the solstice energy. And today's the 18th, and I believe it goes until about the 22nd. I usually look at any time we have some major event or activation or I hear stellar lineup in order to assist us in our growth potential, in order to assist us in our expansion. Again, it's not just assisting us, it's assisting all beings, which include Earth and other planets and the cosmos. For all is expanding, all is growing. And so we can feel this sometimes. And this is going to actually lead me into talking a little bit about grid work as well. So usually right in these portals, we could call them, or gateways, openings, we can feel a little different at times. We may feel a little more, like for example, when it's around the moon, right? We have a tendency to feel a little bit more emotional. We feel like we want to sleep more. We might feel like we can't sleep, or our sleeping cycles, our patterns are disrupted is basically what I'm hearing. So this disruption of patterns can actually be a valuable tool. And I'm just kind of in flow right now. This can be a valuable tool to assist us in our expansion, expression, and growth. So we're being invited not to fight those rhythms. And I hear woodpecker knocking, right? So woodpecker is sharing with us, pay attention to that rhythm. Pay attention to what is showing up for us and how we are responding to it. Sometimes things will show up to give us a little bit of a push or to pull us through, to give us a little guidance. And sometimes we can be a little stuck in how we usually respond. And sometimes it's a good idea to shake things up a little bit, to do something we don't normally do, to get us out of that pattern, that repetitive pattern. So this is not just about the solstice. What I'm speaking about is portals in general, allowing ourselves to kind of just go with the flow a little bit. And this is kind of the energy in general. Many of us are not, this last little space that we were in, many of us were having difficulty finding our footing. We weren't sure where to step next, or how to step next, or should I step forward? Maybe I should take a step backward. Did I just go backwards? I thought I had been moving forward. I have goosebumps. And so it gave us an opportunity to just kind of find a still point. And, you know, in cranial sacral, they talk about that still point being that wave, right? Of just being in, I like to call it 0 point, neutral. And without going into the whole neutrality and finding 0 point neutral zone, I just want to take it and be soft about it and share that from my perspective, it gave me the opportunity to just be loosey-goosey, just kind of play with the energies and not have to know where I was going, not have to know why I was going there. And I kind of just let go and played with those energies, not without being in resistance first, though. I am a human being, as we all are, although we are also children of the sun, our star, we are all star seeds. And I always like to call us now star flowers because we have bloomed, we've blossomed, we've grown, we've expanded. We are in that process of blossoming. And so there was definitely some resistance for me. And my easiest way to let go of that resistance was just being stupid, goofy, being silly. And so if you're in that space right now that you're still feeling that, we're really being invited just to play. Remember our playfulness. Retreat to our inner child kingdom. And that doesn't mean, and I'm hearing hide and go seek. It isn't just that we're hiding. We're going within so that we can find, we can seek it, what it is that is hidden within us. And that's kind of what the energies have been like in the last week from my perspective. That has shifted for me. And I'm sharing this because it may have shifted for somebody else watching this as well. We are in that next push or pull. I'm not going to get technical about what it feels like. For me, it just feels like expansion. And now I feel there's more purpose of my momentum forward. And when I say forward, from my perspective, it isn't just about the future. It's all. It's what's behind me, it's what's in front of me, it's what's above me, it's what's diagonal, it's sideways. It's this expansive uh, forward momentum. And I'm playing with that word because if we think of forward, when you look at a book and you read the forward, it's giving us an idea of what the future holds in the book, right? It's a little bit of a, and so that's kind of where I feel the energy rests today. I also want to share that sometimes I'll work with, and I've gone through this before as well. I'll work with someone and they'll go, well, I feel like I missed out on this awakening. I'm just waking up. I don't even like to use the word just waking up anymore, but it's so easy to think of that as waking up out of a dream or waking up from a reality that we thought we were part of, and now we're recognizing that I don't want to be part of that reality. But what happens is it's okay. There is no time. Time is not, well, in this reality, there is time. We do utilize it as a tool, but everything is happening now. So if you're watching this and you're going, oh, I missed out on the solstice, you could still set your intention to connect with the portal and the energies of the solstice. I hear a lot of people say that those gateways close and then they don't reopen for another such and such years. And from one perspective, that's true. But from another perspective, there is a lingering energy that we anchor in, those of us that are aware of the solstice energies, that are anchoring and embodying those frequencies and activating within us our DNA, connecting in with that portal or stargate. And so we are then providing the opportunity for others moving forward to connect in with those frequencies and energies as well. So I just want to, from another perspective. So it's not it. So yes, if we can anchor into those frequencies now, it's very helpful. It's helpful for the future. It's helpful for the past. It's helpful for this now moment. One of the questions I get is, well, how do I anchor in those frequencies? And my easiest answer would be from my own journey is by being in the heart. So oftentimes, a few days before, I think I can't remember if I shared this or not, but if it's a full moon, I usually feel the energies a couple of days before the full moon and even a day or two after the full moon. Sometimes I'll even feel it a week out, depending on what other alignments are lining up to give us that push or pull. I'll feel a shift in my emotions. I'll feel a shift in my frequencies that are essentially telling me that something is going on, that there is a shift, that there's something that is being offered to be utilized for expansiveness. That expansiveness can be infinite, an infinite number of things. It can be letting go of habit patterns, letting go of emotions. One of the biggest messages that let me see, did I just go Off I did. So anchoring the frequencies, I like to just go into my heart, get grounded, barefoot outside. Don Juan, well, Carlos Castaneda talks about in his books. Is it Don Juan? Oh, I took the book and I put it by my bed. Either way, the shaman in the book, Don Juan. I feel like Mateo. Anyways, talks about finding your place of power, right? So oftentimes I have places around where I live that I feel this energy. My friend Candace and I were talking about the other day. It's like you're dowsing, right? You use your body to find those places of energy. So I'm going to talk about grid work in just a minute in that regard as well. So I'll usually find a place of energy. And if you don't know where that is, where do you feel guided to go sit and connect with the earth? Maybe it's under a tree. Maybe it's next to a river. Maybe it's at the ocean. Maybe it's just holding a crystal or rock. Maybe it's your favorite plant in your apartment because you can't go outside because you're on the other side of the world and it's cold right now, whatever it might be. Then I set my intention to connect with my source, right? Always connecting through my highest source to my oversoul. I ask to anchor the highest frequencies of love, light, and rainbow frequencies. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. And I ask to anchor all that I am into Mother Earth Gaia. And I visualize source light all the way through my body, pinging into my heart, sending it down into the earth and connecting with the heart of Mother Earth. And then I bring it back up. It's almost like this tube, right? And then when I bring it back up, I bring it back into my heart. I send it back up to source. Then I bring it back down again and I let it settle into my heart. And then I expand it out like a giant bubble. This is just my own version of my visualization that I utilize. Now, this is my basic way that I activate, connect in, or anchor into certain frequencies and portals or alignments. It's also how I do grid work. This is just my own way. Everybody has their own way. Some people see roots going out into the field, into infinity. Some people see it sometimes, and sometimes if I'm in meditation when I do this, I'll have visual tools that come up from my memory or awareness to assist me in anchoring with whatever it may need to be. Depending on what portal or stargate or planetary alignments are being offered, sometimes I will have particular beings step forward to assist me, and they look different. Sometimes I'll have elementals that show up, and elementals don't always look the way we think they look, by the way. Sometimes they're really, really, really tiny, and sometimes they're massive. Sometimes I'll see angelic beings. Sometimes I'll see jellyfish beings. Sometimes I'll just see plasma. It changes. I've seen colors. I've seen certain crystals underneath the ocean floor. I've seen tubes. I mean, I could go on and on. I've seen crystal children, not the crystal children necessarily that are with us on Earth, but ones that are in other realms. I'm sharing this with you guys in this way because we all have different ways of interacting with our environment, with our intuition, with our DNA and memory subsets. So I'm sharing it in this way because I've found that when I work with other light workers, humans, right, sisters and brothers, sometimes we get locked into a certain habit pattern or way of thinking, and it limits us into, we have expectations of what it might look like to connect in with these energies. So sometimes it's just about letting go of all of that and allowing whatever comes through to be made aware of, and to make to show itself to us. But sometimes it's just about sitting in stillness and just being in this space of an open vessel of heart-centered energy that allows us to connect with all that is in the now moment. And that sometimes just feels like a delicious emptiness. It's like the wind is just moving through the body, and that's it. It's like whoosh. So to each his, her own, to each its own. I'm moving this into and I talked a little bit about the rainbow. So when I first started on this journey, I had this very strong connection to a particular color. And that has changed for me. I'm always connected to aqua and blue, this electric aqua blue color that I am always drawn to. And that to me is one of my beginning colors, we could say. I get goosebumps even when I think about that. A color as an emanation from source that's connected to a frequency and a sound harmonic. You may be drawn to a particular color or a group of colors. I have now, where I'm at in this now moment, I feel a connection to all colors, complete rainbow, and colors that I don't even have a name for. When you guys were kids, did you ever have one of my favorite gifts that my grandmother gave me was this crayon set. And this crayon set was the biggest crayon set I have ever seen. And it was magical. There wasn't just pink, right? There was hot pink, there was fuchsia, there was magenta, there was salmon pink, there was rose pink. And I had this coloring set and I just loved it. And I think now when I see all these colors, it's like, it's infinite. There's colors that we may see that it can't even be described. And that might be a color that you're drawn to. We are innately, organically in tune with what energies are here to work with us. And so sometimes when we just allow ourselves to see that space, be that space, to open to that space, these will just naturally come through. If you're not sure, or if you don't have a particular color, some people I hear, so when I do these videos and when I have an interaction with multiple beings watching this in the future, I hear questions. I hear the other sides of the coin sometimes. And one of the questions is, well, I like to connect with metals. I do too. So sometimes I'll connect with platinum, gold, silver, right? Titanium, whatever it might be. I'm guided to work with certain elements sometimes, literally elements from the periodic table of elements. And the name of the element will come into my mind's eye, and then I'll look it up and it's a real element. Or crystals. There's this deep purple, lavender, kind of a rainbow mix between fluorite and it's like a purple, it's not amethyst, it's not fluorite, it's another crystal. And this is coming through right now because I'm recognizing that this is a particular element, a particular crystal lattice work that is being activated at this time. So rather than needing to look up, what is it? Do I need to say the name out loud? Just visualize that particular organic element that is vibrating underneath the crust of the earth and is singing in order to connect with our song. And what I'm hearing is it's connecting the song lines, which are also DNA memories, as well as connecting through the rivers of energy that move as conduits underneath the earth, which is connected to water and everything, the ley lines, we could call it. So that might be a tool. I'm being guided to share that can be a useful tool for right now in this now moment. So it's almost like this glowing lavender, lilac, kind of like this color, but anyways, so I will just play with rainbow because I also am connected to the blue ray. I'm connected to the emerald ray. I'm connected to ruby. I'm connected to diamond. I'm connected to all of these. Star sapphire is one of my biggest aha moments was that star sapphire. You may have a particular stone or crystal, and that may hold a certain color frequency. You know, I already mentioned gold and platinum. And from my perspective, my most useful one though is just rainbow. I call in those rainbow frequencies, and then whichever one I can utilize in that moment to work with that has a stronger vibratory aspect that is calling to me, or I am calling to me, that will then serve in that moment of connection to the portal, to the Stargate, to the grid work, whatever it might be. And I'm moving into now to grid work. And this is just my own perspective. There are people out there who are grid workers and they have a specific way that they do things. And that is beautiful. And if that is what works for them and has worked for them and will continue to work for them, they're more of the serious grid workers. You know, they'll go to the pyramids in Egypt or Bosnia, like my friend Kate, or they'll go to these different places and they will utilize certain shapes, crystals, and things like that in a very specific way. I, on the other hand, just usually do my own form of grid work since I am a living grid in my own way. So I wanted to share what I see sometimes in reality is this grid. And have you guys ever seen those? It's like you put your hand in it, it's metal, and then the hand comes out and forms the hand. It's like those little metal pieces. Well, that's what it looks like to me sometimes. It's like this grid, and we're pushing and moving and making all of these shapes sometimes is what I see. Maybe it's the matrix, whatever you want to call it. So I feel and sense certain areas wherever I am located in that moment that have a stronger connection for me. Sometimes you can get tingling in the hands. My friend Candace and I were talking about this. She'll just feel it. And so will I most of the time. You can use dowsing rods. I think I talked about this in the beginning of the video. Sit wherever you feel comfortable. Ask to anchor in the frequencies of the highest levels of love light. Go into that heart, roots, pixels, waves, colors, shapes, whatever it might be. And I actually then, I have my own way of connecting, and I'm moving into grid work, but I will be drawn to a particular area. I will sit or stand in that area. If I stand, it's usually barefoot, or I'll place my hands on the ground, and it'll just come through. Whatever it is I need to say, whatever light language I need to say, whatever sounds and vibratory music I need to make, the pictures will come through and my hands will begin to move, and I will then do that as my form of grid work. Sometimes it'll be particular body movements in that space. And then I ask and intend to anchor those frequencies into that space. And I then will ask and intend to close the portal or to end it in whichever way is for the highest and greatest good, in alignment with the highest levels of love, light, unity, consciousness, benevolence for all. You know, because sometimes there are areas where we want to open it and create a space. There are those who would say, well, you don't want to start opening portals all over. And I would say that is correct. But this is not what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about working with entities or working at a place where there's been a lot of strife. I'm just saying you're going for a walk, you feel drawn to a particular area, you know that you're drawn to that area for a reason, you're connecting with whatever it is that you're connecting with there, and you're setting that intention to anchor the highest frequencies of love. That is a form of grid work. I'm anchoring these frequencies. I'm here of service, and I'm in my heart. I am 100% in sovereignty, and I am in 100% union and communion, right? Do no harm to any sentient kind. I do love, started out years ago doing the revocations that Andrew Bartzis offers on his website, galactichistorian.com. If you're a beginner, especially, that's a really great tool to use. You read them out loud, because if you're not in a place, if you're in a place of fear, or you feel like you're being manipulated, or you feel like you are really insecure, and that's okay, it's part of being a human, we all have insecurities, right? About doing this work, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe doing grid work isn't something that you necessarily would benefit from. It might just be that just by you anchoring the frequencies into your body of love and peace, by doing that and asking to set that intention and connecting that into Mother Earth, you're not necessarily opening portals and doing grid work. You're still doing grid work because you're part of the grid and you're holding a space. So when you hold that space, you're essentially bringing peace to that area. I try to stay neutral about it, meaning I don't try to anchor specific, how do I say this? Sometimes I will be guided to use specific colors, like anchoring the platinum and gold frequencies, certain places. But other times there is no specific, meaning I try not to get my ego involved and say, I'm anchoring, I'm trying to think of a good term. Let me pause this just for a moment. Okay, like I won't say I am unifying all grids right now so that we can clear out all negative entities or whatever it might be. I don't say things like that because that may not be, from my perspective, what needs to happen in that place in that moment. It may have already been done. And I'm not going to rehash and bring up old timelines and old patterns. So I'm being guided to remind everybody, be aware of the words that we're using, that we are anchoring into that space. Because if we're using old terms and old words and old systems, we're not necessarily benefiting that space. That space may already be clear of all that. And we might just be there to hold space and be in love and be in gratitude for Mother Earth. It may not be something we have to do. Sometimes it's just us needing to be and be present. Sometimes Mother Earth just wants to be felt and held. It doesn't mean that we need to assert our will in that particular place. So it's more like thine will be done, not my will be done, right? Which is the same. Yes, I understand that from one perspective, but from another perspective, are we in thine alignment with thy highest self, thy oversoul, and thy highest aspect, and connecting fully into source stream consciousness? Or is there an element of us being attached to a particular belief structure that we are then anchoring into that particular moment, if that makes sense? So I still go into the heart. I visualize myself in this rainbow bubble of frequency. I send it out, and then I just basically dissolve it and ask for that light to be anchored wherever it can be most useful for the highest levels of love light. So is that real grid work? From one perspective, it may not necessarily be what some would call that, but from a bigger perspective of just, we are the grids, that is a form of, right, working with the grids. We're working with the energy. We're working with the plasma field that we are all a part of. Okay, so what else did I want to go into? I'm going to go into a little, let me pause just briefly. So it's just about sometimes being present with our connection to the space in and all around us. So I think I'm going to end on that note. Maybe I'll go into a little bit of flow. Um, no, I think I'm going to keep this kind of as short. And nope, I'm going into a little flow. So Ke wa e ne te au ste makuni we au hene. Being guided to share at the end whenever I'm doing any grid work or any particular connections with portals, I do end it by saying, and so it is. And I do ask that my oversoul be the one that directs whether the portal be closed or open. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you're not sure. And if you're not sure, don't do it. Or you can just close it. Closing it is always something that you can do in that moment to feel if you're feeling a little unsure but uncertain. Again, I'm being guided to just share that the new energies are about trust, about trusting that we are on our path and not pushing or forcing. So there are some people that just don't feel guided to work in that way. And it might be that, oh, okay, I'm seeing where this is going. They might be doing work with computers. There are certain people that are here to work with the artificial grid systems. That's another video, truly another video, because that's not what I want to get into right now. But so everybody's different. It's about letting go of this need or these old habit patterns. And part of these portals and stargates and stellar alignments are to help us break old patterns and to help us reflect, to help us to open and expand. And so sometimes things will come up and become very obvious to us that we've been trying to push up against or trying to force ourselves into or to run away from. And part of these events, these activations are to help us work through that. And so what I'm being guided is what's coming through right now is just, I'm getting a little emotional. So I'm going to provide, I'm not providing anything, I'm just sharing in this energies that are coming in as an activation. Sometimes I yawn, cough, and burp when I do these activations. If you guys have had sessions with me, you know. Speaking of which, if you have had a session with me, I'm going to be deleting a lot of these old videos. So you may want to go back and download them or record them on your phone or something. I'll be going outside and doing one today as well. And many of us are drawn to different landscapes. Oh, okay. And we do not know why. I'm being shown two things. I have these pop-ups on my computer, and the pop-up was a bridge that split and then came back into one bridge. I don't remember where it was located. It was really cool. It's like kind of over the ocean, or over this river. It went out, and all of a sudden it just split, but then it came back together. And that's part of what I'm seeing with this bifurcation, by the way. So that's a whole, how many times do I say that's a whole other video? But truly, I'm seeing that there is a split, but eventually everything comes back into togetherness at the end, right? There is no end in the infinite ending. But every time I open my computer, I have these different pictures of bridges, and each of these bridges are like this. There's no straight bridge. All of the bridges that have shown up on my computer all have a curve. And what and they're all in these precarious looking places. Like they're not necessarily just this perfect straight bridge. And I'm also being guided to go back into what I was saying earlier, that, or I don't know if I said it or not, so apologies if I repeat myself, but I was having that vision of we just stepped off of a plane. We're in the airport and our gate has changed. So what I was shown is that how many times have we, if you've traveled and you think you're going to be exiting gate such and such, or your connecting flight is gate such and such, for many of us that has shifted. For many of us that has changed. And so are we going to fight the fact that now we have to go through a different gate, or we're being guided to go through this other gate? Are we going to get lost in the airport thinking, no, I have to go to that other gate because that's what I planned on? So that's something else that's coming up. And to trust that the gate that is being provided is providing you with the provisions that are necessary to move forward in your survival. And I'm hearing, I'm a survivor. I'm not going to give up. Something, something surviving. Or Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger. That's more my cup of tea. This is a gift. It may not feel that way at first. It may feel as if there is a rift that is happening inside of you, a rift that is happening within the soul structure, yet this is not the case. Although it is the case in particular in certain structures. And this is okay. We will be providing a series of solstice activations through many different starseed connections, if you will, through many different communications, through many different forms of communication. We invite you to open to all forms of communication and recognize that when we move into this with our consent, if you will, we are consenting to a higher consensus of unification and oneness. Consensus and sovereignty, if you will, agreeing to be the sovereign species. An alignment, if you will, of the higher frequencies. Not fighting through the muck and the mire in order to reach what it is we think we desire. For what we think we desire, I'm hearing, let it burn. I'm seeing a phoenix, a rising phoenix. Like it's been what we thought we desired has been, I'm hearing lost in the fire, but that's a play on words. Energies are so strong. I'm just allowing them. So just sit with this. If you're sensitive to these frequencies, you may be able to feel them. And if you aren't, that's okay too. There's no right or wrong way to experience this divine interaction. And I'm not just speaking about, if you're watching this video, interaction, divine interaction, action. I'm seeing this is like the interaction between us and earth, the interaction between us and each other, the interactions between us and the sun, the interactions between all of us. So many will be guided to go to certain places, guided to go to certain landmarks, if you will. And as you connect with these landmarks, you will recognize that you are leaving your mark. So be aware of how you are leaving your mark. Be aware of how you feel when you are marking your territory, your terra. Ooh. I'm seeing like earth tree. Are we marking it like this is mine? Or are we recognizing that we are no longer the mind? We are stepping out of the need to constantly be mining, taking, but be more mindful. So we're filling up what we have taken, and it becomes an equal energy exchange, is what I'm being shown. I could go so many different places. I could go with this, I could go with that. I'm going to sit with this for a few breaths. Moving this energy around. As you allow the incoming waves to roll through you, if you will. As you let go of the need to intercept what is being rolled out. Allow yourself to roll with it, baby. Newa stau mukwene dio mukuninwea. Go ya ukwiti tu iste mukuni titi au kwai enek au haina. Wawai de kunino mua u kinino stum uya on. Kunewa dedi di kunima kuawa. Kiawa he niti niniki mawa. Konene titi nawa titi niki nawa he. So I've got grandmother frequencies, Lemurian frequencies, Arcturian frequencies, Andromedan frequencies, so many. I gotta pause. Okay, so we have so much help. Doesn't always feel like that. But what I'm being shown is this ship. Think of your ship as your vessel, your body, your life. And I'm seeing like certain beings are lifting us up so we don't get stuck in the mud. Other beings are pushing us. Others are pulling us. There's some that are blowing on the sails. There's some that are lighting fires on deck so that we don't get complacent. But what I'm being guided to share is we have to help ourselves. We have to be willing, right? We have to We don't have to. But in order to move forward, in order to expand, and all of these beings are here now in different realms, perhaps in different forms of consciousness, in different suits of technology. I'm seeing skin suits, plants, animals, beings that don't look like us. And if you were to see the fabric in which you all exist within, you would recognize that there is no separation. Yet in this reality that you are choosing to create with, co-create, there is a separation, for it is necessary in order to, what I'm being shown is, if we were shown everything, we remembered it all, it would be difficult to differentiate between timelines, between realities, between, am I an elemental? Am I Arcturian? But we're human. We are all of those things. Yet, in one particular realm, there's beings that are doing something else. And there's another realm where beings are doing something else. And Earth is this beautiful portal in as itself, a living portal. We are living channels, right? We are walking portals. We are part of this. So while there are certain boundaries, if you will, that keep us separate, we are truly connected. And the more that we can recognize that our connections go well beyond this reality, we begin to recognize and come to terms with, I'm seeing certain terms, terminology. I've been playing with this word recently. I'm seeing the terminal, right? It's like, again, this plane, right? This plane of existence. So we're in this terminal. Are we going to move forward with more velocity, terminal velocity? Are we going to give into the idea of being terminal? I'm seeing, like, are we going to believe that we're infinite, or are we going to say, nope, this is it? That's our choice here on Earth. We are being invited to sit with this. Does that feel right? How does that feel, that this is it? There is no more. This is, our term is up. And for some, that will feel right. And that is what they have chosen to experience and express. But there are those of us who are opening to a bigger realm. And there is no better than in that realm, for example. For that is merely a belief that we have structured and created in order to create boundaries, in order to assist us on our own, down our own path. I'm hearing some of us are switching Some of us are becoming switched on, and some people are choosing to switch off. There are upcoming events that will be unfolding, and for many it will be difficult to chew on, if you will. We are inviting those of you who are able to hold a particular perspective, a more expansive point of view, if you will, perhaps a view that points in many different directions, that allows you to dip into the angles, the different recognitions of different, I'm hearing algebraic equations that then move into, I'm hearing bigger mathematic skills, like I'm hearing deeper trifecta. I'm hearing some will be triggered by the geometries, trigonometry. I'm going to hold the space for a few breaths and then I'm going to end on this note. Some open to a deeper trajectory. Some are I'm hearing some, ku ana at makuhenna. Ku ai ne mokunene. Ku ai ina mokunewa. We honor you on this path and on this journey. We honor you in all the trajectories, if you will, that you have experienced. For you have opened up the ability for all of us to experience and express through many of you. You have given us the ability to see through a human view. And we understand that this is not easy. See the ship rocking. For some, the path has been queasy. There are many questions. And we remind you that many of those questions are being answered and they will be answered. So we invite you to hold this space for this realm that we are entering in this now moment, this new realm that we are accessing. These new constructs are allowing us to assist in the remapping of other worlds and the remapping of this new dimension, but also connecting into a dimensionless space. We invite you to uphold your honor in the choices that you make. This is a play on words, by the way. I'm seeing us to soften that. Honor is honing in on uphold is holding our space so that we can move up, but not just higher than or in a hierarchy. It's expand up. When I think of up, I literally see a balloon expanding. And I'm seeing this as honoring one another. My theme has been, you could go with this, you could go with that. So it's honor. So I was guided to look up honor and the word origin. And I'm going to play with this just for a moment because basically I skipped to the end. Do you guys ever do that? Sometimes I just read and I'm like, let's just get to the end. But it isn't about just getting to the end. It is about the process and the journey, right? I don't do that as much anymore. But it was interesting that a custom more honored in the breach than the observance. Whoever will look up the passage, this is in Hamlet, will see what it means beyond a doubt. A custom that one deserves more honor for breaking than for keeping. I just wrote, and I'm going to do a video on this about breaking. This is funny. This is how synchronicity works, guys. I kept hearing, look it up, look it up. So some things are meant to be broken, habits, for example, and in doing that, we are honoring our forward momentum. We are honoring ourselves by not keeping certain customs. Ooh, I'm being guided to play with that as well. Customs has to do with boundaries and borders, right? Certain customs are valuable and are meant to be kept, but certain customs, where did they come from? And whose energy are they really honoring, right? And of course it says, but it is often quoted in the wrong and very different sense of a dead letter or rule, more often broken than kept. And I was being guided to talk about dead letters and rules. There are certain rules that we've honored as tradition, but in this new portal, in this opening that we're in, part of what it is letting go of those old concepts that do not fit in the new world that we have created, because it's already happened, but we're also in the process of creating it because we are still going by our time, so to speak. And I'm being guided to talk about dead letters. I'm going to do a video next about what I wrote, but talking about light language, living language, not light language and ancestral language, tukush tarahakur, languages that are in our DNA. Sometimes light language is just sound, but all language is light, right? From one perspective, even certain languages that were maybe spoken by certain beings who are not love and light, it still comes from light. Light emanates out and communicates and vibrates, but either way, it's the intention behind it, right? But dead letters. So if we're using, I'm just seeing this huge synchronicity, so I'm going to pull that into my next video, but honing in on holding our space of gratitude and appreciation for how far we have come, for being human, for having our senses and abilities to touch, to laugh, to cry, to be able to express. I remember watching a Star Trek when I was a kid, and then I watched it again recently, and I remembered watching it as a kid, and I was like, oh, that was a creepy Star Trek episode. And there was a guy in it, he did something, I don't remember the whole episode, but he looked human, and he was really not behaving with honor. And he basically was being aggressive with a female. And he was saying, where I come from, we can't touch. We don't feel. So he was like obsessed with touching and feeling and living life in a human way. And he didn't understand boundaries, that it's not appropriate to just walk up to a stranger and be too touchy. Some people don't understand those boundaries that are humans, but you get where I'm going with this. There are certain codes that we do honor here on earth, and we are being invited to uphold the true code of humanity. And what is that? Coherence, appreciation, gratitude, joy, bliss. and our emotions, feeling those things. But again, moving forward, letting go of all the stuff that just isn't going to fit. It's not going to squeeze through this portal. What can we leave behind that we don't need it anymore? So, and there's so much more. I could keep going and going and going, but I don't have time to do that technically today in this now moment. So I'm going to end on that note, and I'm so appreciative of you guys and being on this journey together, because we really do support one another in our own way. So thank you. In love and light. Namaste.